Imagine walking into a room and seeing a chicken. Now, imagine that same chicken with 6-inch claws, weighing 7 tons, and roaring loud enough to shake the ground beneath your feet. For decades, we were told that the giant monsters in movies were just products of Hollywood imagination. We were told they were slow, scaly, and stupid lizards that time forgot. But what if the wildest myths you heard as a kid, the ones your teachers said were impossible, turn out to be 100% true? Recent discoveries have flipped the world of paleontology upside down. From dinosaurs having colorful feathers to the shocking truth about how they actually sounded. The reality is far crazier than any movie. Today, we are breaking down the dinosaur myths that are actually true. Stick around, because one of these facts proves that dinosaurs never actually went extinct. Before we dive into the prehistoric world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries. For a long time, the biggest myth in science was the idea that dinosaurs were covered in rough, lizard-like skin. If you look at the movies from the 90s, every creature looks like a giant crocodile or a dry, leathery monster. However, we now know for a fact that many dinosaurs were actually covered in feathers. This wasn't just a light fuzz. Some of them looked more like giant, terrifying birds and reptiles. Scientists have found incredibly well-preserved fossils in places like China that show clear imprints of feathers around the bones. This discovery changed everything we knew about their appearance. It turns out that feathers weren't just for flying. Many dinosaurs used them for warmth or to show off to potential mates, much like a peacock does today. Imagine a velociraptor not as a sleek green lizard, but as a feathered predator with bright colors and a sharp beak. It makes them look less like monsters and more like real, living animals that actually walk this earth. Another massive myth that turned out to be true is the motherhood of dinosaurs. For a century, people thought dinosaurs were like most modern reptiles. They would lay their eggs in the sand and just walk away, leaving the babies to fend for themselves. But a famous discovery involving a dinosaur called Maiasaura proved this was wrong. The name actually means good mother lizard. Paleontologists found huge nesting grounds where it was clear that these giant creatures stayed with their young, fed them, and protected them from predators. They lived in massive colonies and worked together to make sure the next generation survived. This shows a level of social intelligence and emotional depth that we usually only associate with mammals or birds. They weren't just mindless eating machines. They were dedicated parents who built communities and looked after their families with great care. We also have to talk about the myth of the dinosaur roar. If you watch a movie, the T-Rex always lets out a deafening, high-pitched scream before it attacks. For years, experts said this was just for cinema and that dinosaurs probably didn't make much noise at all. But new research into the shape of their throats and ears suggests that while they might not have roared like lions, they made something much scarier, a low-frequency rumble. This sound would have been so deep that you might not even hear it with your ears, but you would feel it vibrating inside your chest. It is similar to the infrasound made by crocodiles and elephants today. This low-pitched thumping could travel for miles, acting as a warning to anything in the area. Imagine standing in a dark forest and feeling the ground shake from sound you can't even hear. That is the terrifying reality of how dinosaurs communicated. Then there is the myth of the small brain. You've probably heard people call someone a dinosaur as an insult to their intelligence, implying they were too stupid to survive. While some dinosaurs did have small brains compared to their body size, many were actually quite sharp. Predators like the Troodon had very large brain-to-body ratios. They had big eyes for hunting in the dark and likely worked in organized groups to trap their prey. This means they were capable of basic problem-solving and communication. They weren't just walking stomachs. They were strategic hunters that could adapt to their environment. The idea that they died out because they were too dumb is completely false. They dominated the planet for over 150 million years, which is a lot longer than humans have been around. You don't survive that long without being smart enough to handle the world around you. One of the most mind-blowing myths that is actually true involves the dinosaur color. People used to think we would never know what color dinosaurs were because skin and feathers don't usually survive for millions of years. However, technology has advanced so much that we can now look at fossilized feathers under powerful microscopes to find melanosomes. These are tiny structures that contain pigment. By comparing these structures to those of modern birds, scientists have actually mapped out the colors of certain dinosaurs. For example, a small feathered dinosaur called Sinosauropteryx had bright orange and white stripes on its tail, almost like a ginger cat. Another one called Microraptor had shiny, iridescent black feathers that would have shimmered in the sunlight like a crow or a raven. This proves that the prehistoric world wasn't a dull gray and brown place. It was vibrant, colorful, and full of visual beauty. We also need to address the speed myth. In many old books, giant long-necked dinosaurs like the Brachiosaurus were shown as slow-moving giants that spent their lives standing in swamps because they were too heavy to walk on land. We now know that was totally wrong. These animals were highly active and moved across vast distances. While they weren't sprinting like cheetahs, they were efficient walkers. More importantly, smaller dinosaurs were incredibly fast. Using computer models based on bone structure, scientists found that some smaller predators could run at speeds of nearly 40 miles per hour. That is faster than the quickest human sprinter in history. If you're being chased by a group of small theropods, you wouldn't be able to outrun them. They were built for the chase, with hollow bones like birds to keep them light and powerful leg muscles to drive them forward. A very strange myth that turned out to be true is that some dinosaurs lived in the cold. We always imagine dinosaurs in steaming hot jungles with volcanoes in the background. But evidence has been found of dinosaurs living in the Arctic and Antarctic regions. Back then, these areas weren't covered in miles of ice like they are now, but they were still very cold and had months of total darkness during the winter. We have found fossils of dinosaurs that lived in these freezing conditions year-round. They didn't migrate to warmer weather. They stayed and survived the snow. This proves they weren't cold-blooded in the way we think of snakes or turtles. They must have had high metabolisms and thick coats of feathers to keep their body heat in. This discovery completely changed our understanding of where these animals could live and how tough they really were. Perhaps the most important myth that turned out to be true is the fact that dinosaurs never actually went extinct. Usually, we think of a giant rock hitting the earth and every single dinosaur falling over dead. While the big ones did die out, a small group of feathered dinosaurs survived. Over millions of years, they evolved and changed into the birds we see outside our windows today. When you look at a sparrow, a hawk, or even a chicken, you are literally looking at a modern-day dinosaur. Animals that ruled the world for millions of years. And in the form of birds, they are still ruling the skies today. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Also, comment down below and let us know which dinosaur myth surprised you the most. We love reading your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're the first to know when we drop a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.